Hello, all my dear students. I'm your educator Amit Ajmani, and I once again welcome you all to Sri Jendra Rank Zone classes. So I hope you all are doing good, studying well and sincerely and seriously, preparing well for your exams. So guys, in the previous class, we completed up heredity and evolution, and today, time to discuss the question answers. So directly, let us start up with work. Let's see the first question. The wings of birds and bats are called as. Now these are called analogous structures. We have studied the evidences for evolution, in which we know that analogous structures are those which have different body design but they are performing the same functions. And the wings of birds and wings of bats are the analogous organs. The next option given to us are vestigial organs. Now, I am always a firm believer that whenever we are doing something for practice, then in that case, it is our responsibility to make utilization of all what possibly can be done to improve our learning. And there are so many times when we are given a question, we know the exact answer straight away, but I always prefer that you check out the other options and revise your concepts and learn something new. Second thing, I've always been telling you guys that always keep a pen and register ready with you so that wherever and however you feel, you can note down anything. Third important thing is you all are grown ups. So I'm really expecting that you people yourself are being honest and sincere and you yourself are concentrating, because guys, we are not actually in front of each other so that I can see your facial expressions and I can make out based on my experience as to are you understanding or not. Trust me, I've been teaching for 22 years now, so I can make out just with your facial expressions and your sitting posture and body language whether you are getting whatever I'm speaking and teaching or not. But this is a drawback when it comes to these type of online platform learning. So I expect all my students that they are going to become responsible and sincere and they will focus and concentrate on their own. Same goes with you, okay? So let us apply that fundamental that we are here to revise. So we'll be looking for other options also and trying to revise whatever possibly we can. For example, the other option is vestigial organs. We need to know what are vestigial organs, or if we know, we should revise it. These are the organs which are present in our body but are no more performing any function. They are present. Okay. For example, the vermiform appendix in our body. This appendix is present in herbivores. This is present in our body also, but nowadays it is not performing any function. This is also an evidence for evolution. Why? Because nothing is there given to us by God in our body which should not have any function, but still this vermiform appendix is present but not performing. Whereas in herbivores, it is playing an active role in digesting the cellulose. So that simply provides one more evidence for evolution that in earlier times when we never knew how to grow crops or how to cook, even we used to, the early man also used to eat whatever he could find. So in his body, the vermiform appendix was functioning in order to digest the cellulose. But since now we know how to process and cook the food, we don't eat grass directly, and that is why that vermiform appendix is not performing any further function. So these are called vestigial organs, right? Next option is homologous organs. These are the organs which are having same body design but different functions. Four limbs of humans and bats and monkeys and all we have seen. Clear? So right now our correct answer is C, that is the analogous structures. Coming to the second question, which of the following is similar to analogous organs? What is similar? Analogous organs are those organs which have different body structure but same functions. They have a different origin, they have got a different structure, but their body functions, their part function is same. Such organs are called analogous. So C, functions are same. That is what we are supposed to mark. Next question is, the study of fossil plant is called, it is called paleontology. Right? Botany is the study of physical plants, zoology is the study of animals, etc. Paleontology is when we are talking about fossil world. So B, paleontology, will mark the correct answer. Next, dinosaurs are called as, are they extinct birds or extinct animals or extinct reptiles or extinct amphibians? So dinosaurs are in the category of reptiles. So C, extinct reptiles. This is what we are going to mark. This is the question which we have not discussed while we were teaching. So these are the type of questions on which we need to focus. Because while I was teaching you people, already you have done lot much in detail in your classrooms, and we are just here to brush up the things, to review the main points, and mainly to focus on these questions. Clear? Coming to the next question. Wings of birds and insects are called as, again, on analogous structures. They are not homologous, they are not vestigial, they are not inactive structure. Because inactive in other form are vestigial, they are the analogous structures having same functions even though the body structure, basic body design is different. Next, Archaeopteryx, very important. It is a fossil that we have got, and this fossil was related to, is it aves and reptiles, Pisces, mammals, only reptiles? So this is aves and reptiles. How? It has got wings like the aves, that is the birds, and it has got teeth and beak like the reptiles. And that is why it provides an evidence for evolution, because it is considered to be a connecting link between the birds and reptiles. And in other way, we can say, or we can conclude looking at Archaeopteryx, that birds have evolved from reptiles. So A is the right answer. Archaeopteryx is related to aves and reptiles. Coming to the next question, question number 7. Evolution refers to, is it referring to the life in sea? Obviously not. Is it referring to the fossils? No. Is it the living things constantly changes? Yes. This is what evolution is. The living things, they continuously, gradually change. Why? In order to adapt themselves as per their surrounding, and that is what we call that they have evolved. So this is what evolution refers to. C, that is living things constantly changing. Next, theory of evolution that was supported by Lamarck, named as, now it is not the mutation theory, it is the inheritance of acquired characters. This is what Lamarckism is, right? So if you knew the answer, perfectly fine. If you don't, please mark it down. This was the theory of evolution, inheritance of acquired characteristics, that was supported by Lamarck. B part, inheritance of acquired characters, that is our answer. Fine. Coming to the next question, theory of spontaneous generation was given by, again, worth noting down, this is given by Pasteur. He was the one who gave the theory of spontaneous generation. B. Pasteur is the right answer. Next question. An organism having two same type of alleles of a gene in a cell is known as. Now we know that the genes exist in pairs, though individual ones are called alleles. If both of them are different, they are called heterozygous. But if they are same, this is called homozygous. Homo in itself means same. So homozygous is the same type of alleles. C. Homozygous will be the right answer. Next question. The source of organic variation is, it is because of sexual reproduction that variation is being caused, right? In organic variations, if we are talking about, that is the variations in plants and animals, they are sexually reproducing. They have got two different parents, one male and one female, having the different male gamete and the female gamete, because of which when they fertilize, they will provide their characteristics. Out of these, for few characteristics, the female's genes will be dominant. For few, the male's genes will be dominant, because of which organic variation occurs. So B. Sexual reproduction will be the right answer. Clear? Coming to the next question. Dead remains of plants and animals is called, obviously, fossils. Fossils are the remains of plants and animals. Question number 13. Let's see what it is saying. Which of the following is the correct term for homologous? Is it their similarity in origin or function or structure or both? And B. It is the structure. Homologous organs are those organs which have same body design, same structure, same basic design, but different in functions, right? So C. Structure is what we should be marking in this question. Let us see the next question. What examiner is asking is, which of the following analogous organs contains? Now, which of them is the analogous organ, and it contains different embryonic origin and perform different functions, or different embryonic origin but perform similar functions, common embryonic origin and perform dissimilar functions, none of the above. Now, analogous, we simply know that these are the organs which perform similar functions. So, B will be the right option. Different embryonic origin, but they are going to perform the similar functions. That is what analogous organs are. Clear? Next, which one is found? It should be found in male only. Is it the X chromosome, which is found in males only, or 2X chromosome, X plus Y chromosome, or Y chromosome? It is Y chromosome, which is found in males only. Clear? This is what we have seen, that the females have got both the chromosomes XX, but the males have got one chromosome X and one is Y. So Y chromosome, B option, is the right one. It is the characteristic of males only. Got it? Let's come to the next question. Which one of the following statements is correct? Now there are certain statements which are given to us, and we need to find out which of them is incorrect and which is correct. First is Cro-Magnon man's fossil. No, it wasn't. Directly cross it. Homo erectus is the ancestor of man. No. the real ancestor were Australopithecus. Third option, Neanderthal man is the direct ancestor of Homo sapiens. Again, no. Australopithecus is the real ancestor. Yes, Australopithecus is the real ancestor of man. So D is the correct statement. Rest all other three statements are wrong. Coming to the next question. Which one of the pair has homologous organs? Is it the pectoral fins of a fish and forelimbs of a horse, or wings of a bat and wings of cockroach, or air sac of fish and lungs of frogs, or wings of a bird and wings of a butterfly? These are analogous organs, wings of a bird and wings of butterfly. Similarly, no relation between air sacs of fish and lungs, and no relation between wings of bat and wings of cockroach. They are analogous. It is the pectoral fins of a fish and the forelimbs of a horse which are considered to be the homologous organs. Fine. Let's see the next question. A child receives genes from his father to the extent of. This we have already seen in the case of sex determination, that 50% genes are from the father and 50% genes are from the mother. So B, 50% is the right answer. Next is transfer of genes from one gene pool to another is called. Now we have given the option speciation, genetic drift, gene flow, or mutation. The answer is gene flow. C. This is the transfer of genes from one gene pool to another. Correct? Let's come to the next question, question number 20. Which of the following symbols are used for representing chromosomes of the birds? Now this I hope you don't know. So it is ZZ and ZW. These are the symbols which are used for representing the chromosomes of bird. So A is the right answer. Right? You can note it down if you want to. Next question is, universe originated about 15 billion years ago by. What was the possible reason? Was it thermonuclear, or gravity, or fusion, or destruction of the atmosphere? It was actually the thermonuclear explosion that was the assumed reason for the formation of universe around 15 billion years ago. Right? So A, thermonuclear explosion is the right answer. Coming to next question. Age of Earth is about. Now, how old is our Earth? Is it 4.6 billion years, or 10 billion years, or 3 billion years, or 20 billion years? So, the birth of our Earth took place 4.6 billion years ago. A is the right answer to this question. Clear? Coming to the next question. Now this is again, I think that these are such type of questions. Question number 23, that if you know the answer, good. But if you don't know the answer, you can't make any guesses based on your knowledge. You just have to learn them, that's it. So if you know it, good. If you don't, note it down. Let us see what the question is. Which of the following is known as the oldest living fossil? Is it the eubacteria, or archaebacteria, or protozoa, or eukaryotes? So it is archaebacteria. They are considered to be the oldest living fossil. B, archaebacteria. Okay. Next question. Atmosphere of Earth at the time of origin of life was. What kind of atmosphere was present? Was it reducing or oxidizing? Neither A and B, or aerobic. It can't be aerobic because there was no oxygen. It can't be oxidizing because there was no oxygen. And since B is the wrong answer, neither A or B can be considered, or reducing. It is actually the reducing atmosphere. When life was originated, as per Miller and Urey, it was the reducing atmosphere of Earth. So A, reducing is the right answer. Right? Let's see the next question. There is no life on Moon because there is no water, nitrogen, carbon, or silicate. Out of these, life to exist requires water. Since water is not present in Moon, that is why life is not yet possible on Moon. Fine. So A, water will be the answer that we are going to mark. Let us see the next question. Process of selecting individuals with desired characters by man is called. Now we are selecting the individuals, right? This is called either hybridization or reproduction or artificial selection or natural selection. It is not hybridization, this is done in animals. Reproduction doesn't require any kind of selection. Now it is either artificial or natural selection. It can't be natural because man is selecting it. So it has to be artificial selection or the man-made selection. C will be the right answer. Correct? Let us see the next question. Which one of the following pairs are homologous organs? Homologous means the organs having same body design but different functions. Four limbs of a bird and wings of a bat. Yes, this is the very first option and the correct answer. These are homologous organs. Right? Coming to the next. The theory of evolution by of species by natural selection was given by. Now this theory of natural selection was given by Charles Darwin in his book The Origin of Species. He gave a theory of natural selection, and his theory of natural selection is also known as Darwinism. So it was Charles Darwin who gave this theory of natural selection. D will be the right answer. Clear? Let's see the next question. A cross. Now this is a monohybrid cross being asked. A cross between a tall pea plant. Capital T, capital T. This is a tall pea plant. One thing, tall is the dominant trait, and because the combination is both capital alphabets, it is a homozygous pair. And the cross is made between short pea plant, small t, again homozygous. It will result in the progenies that were all tall plants. Why? They were all tall because tallness is the recessive trait. No, it is the dominant trait. Shortness is the dominant trait. Shortness, no. Height of pea plant is not governed by the G capital T, gene capital T or small t. No, tallness is the dominant trait. Yes, that is why all the plants were tall, because this was a dominant trait. Fine. So D, tallness will be the right answer. Coming to the next question. The number of pairs of sex chromosomes in the zygote of a human being is. There is always one pair of sex chromosomes, the rest 22 pairs. Out of the total 23 are the non-sex or the autosomal pair. So only one pair of sex chromosomes is present. Answer is C. Next, a zygote which has an X chromosome inherited from the father. Now this is what we have studied in sex determination, that the mother has got XX, father has got XY. So from mother it has to be a X chromosome only that will be inherited by the child. And if now this zygote has inherited X chromosome from the father, that means its genetic combination is XX. So it will develop into a girl or boy, or either boy or girl, or X chromosome does not influence, it will be a girl child. Fine, it will be a girl child. For boy, it should have been Y chromosome from the father. So A, girl child, is the answer. Let's see the next question. A man with blood group A marries a woman having blood group O. What will be the blood group of the child? Now in this question, quite importantly, the man is having blood group A. It is not specified whether this blood group A is homozygous or this blood group A is heterozygous. Both cases, the blood group will be A. So if it is homozygous and it is crossed with blood group O, then in that case, all the offsprings will have blood group A. But if the man is having heterozygous A blood group, and now if he is marrying a woman of blood group O, now there will be an equal probability of the child having blood group A as well as blood group O. So there will be equal chances of acquiring blood group A or blood group O. Clear? This is among the crosses, and this is what I told you yesterday, that make sure that you are doing up the monohybrid and dihybrid crosses of Mendel. Clear? Coming to the next question. What does the progeny of a tall plant with round seeds and a short plant with wrinkled seeds look like? This is also dihybrid cross performed by Mendel. Now, tall is a dominant trait. So, it will going to take over and dominate the short one. So, the pea plant or the next progeny will be tall. Similarly, when we talk about round and wrinkled, round is a dominant trait. So if we are crossbreeding tall plant with round seeds with a short plant with wrinkled seeds, they will be tall with round seeds, because tallness and round seeds both are dominating trait. They will dominate the recessive ones and they will show the appearance of the dominant only. So all the organisms in the progeny will be tall, having round seeds. Clear? Coming to the next question. If a round green seeded pea plant, round is capital R, that means it is the dominant trait, and green is small y, that means it is the recessive trait, is crossed with a wrinkled yellow seeded plant. Wrinkled is small r, means recessive trait, and yellow is capital Y, that means it is a dominant trait. So when they are crossed, the seeds produced in F1 generation are, now in F1 we know, as per Mendel's dihybrid cross, we will always get dominant traits only. And since red is dominant when it comes to round is dominant when it comes to the shape of the seed, and yellow color, so all will be round and yellow. B will be the right answer. Got it? Coming to the next question. The human species has genetic roots in Australia, Africa, America or Indonesia. It is Africa. We have our genetic roots in Africa. B will be the answer. Next, which of the following is the ancestor of broccoli? Now, broccoli, these are all basically the artificial selected, the cauliflowers, the wild cabbage, the various varieties, and the ancestor of broccoli is wild cabbage. In fact, the cabbage, cauliflower, kale, they all, along with broccoli, they have the ancestor wild cabbage. So C, wild cabbage is the answer. This is artificial selection actually, right? Let us see the next question. The process of evolution of a species whereby characteristics which help individual organisms to survive and reproduce are passed on to the next offspring, and those characteristics which do not help are not passed. What exactly is this called? This is the natural process going on. This is called natural selection, right? So the process of evolution of a species in which the characteristics which are helping the organism to survive, they are getting passed on into the next offspring, and those which are not giving any survival benefit, they are not passed. So this is natural selection, nature's way to select the fittest of the survival of the fittest. Clear? Next, identify the two organisms which are now extinct and are studied from their fossils. Sparrow is still found. Dinosaur not found. Fish Knightia. Yes, this is a fossil. These both are now extinct. Again, white tiger, both options, they are still found. So dinosaur and Knightia fish, these are the fossils, extinct animals. B is the right answer. Okay. Next, which of the following decide the sex of the child? Now, sex determination we have done very thoroughly, and we have concluded there that it is the father who decides the sex of the child, and from father it will be the male gamete, that is the sperms. It is not the female gamete who is going to decide the sex of the child. Why? Because both the female gametes are containing both the X chromosomes. So it has to be X from female. Now it depends on the male, that is the sperm. If there is X chromosome, it will be female child, and if it is Y chromosome, it will be a male child. So A, male gamete, that is the sperm, is the one which is going to decide the sex of the child. Clear? Coming to the next question. Purebred pea plant A is crossed with purebred pea plant B. It is found that the plants which look like A do not appear in F1 generation but re-emerge in the F2 generation. Which of the plants A and B are tall and dwarf? Now, if in F1 generation we are not getting A, that means A is a recessive trait. Because when a dominant and a recessive trait are crossed in F1 generation, it will be all dominant. That means B is dominant. This is the first conclusion that we can draw. Now, secondly, the traits are tallness and dwarfness. So we know that in pea plants, tallness is the dominant trait and dwarfness is the recessive. That means A is the dwarf, that means the recessive plant. A are tall, can't be. A are tall, can't be. A are dwarf, perfect. B are also dwarf? No, because A are dwarf and B are tall. D is the right answer. A are dwarf, that is the recessive trait. B are tall, that is the dominant trait. That is why when they were crossed, none of the organism showed the recessive trait A in F1 generation. That means they all showed the tallness, the trait of B. That is the dominant one. And therefore we can conclude that A are the recessive ones dwarf and B are the dominant one tall. Clear everyone? Now let's come to the next question. In humans, if gene capital B gives brown eyes and G small b gives blue eyes, what will be the color of the eyes of the persons having combination capital B small b and capital B capital B? One simple concept that we need to apply is that if it is a capital alphabet, that means it is a dominant trait and only the recessive traits are represented by small corresponding alphabets. So if the capital B is representing brown eyes, that means brown is the dominant trait. So if we have a combination of capital B and small b, that is the heterozygous combination, then this dominant trait of brown eyes, capital B, is going to suppress the recessive trait of blue eyes. So the combination capital B will refer to brown eyes, and again capital B means brown. So in both the cases, the color of eyes will be brown. So what is the correct answer? It's not blue, not blue, not blue. It is both brown. So C is the right answer, both brown. Fine. Coming to the next question. A cross between two individuals resulting in the ratio of 9 is to 3 is to 3 is to 1 for 4 possible phenotypes of progeny. This is an example of dihybrid cross. This is the dihybrid ratio given to us, 9 is to 3 is to 3 is to 1. So B, dihybrid cross, is the right answer. Let's come to the next question. Which of the following characters can be acquired but not inherited? The color of the skin, it is inherited. The size of the body, now this is an acquired trait. Depending upon the eating habits, the size of the body can increase or decrease, but it is not necessary that it will be inherited, because the size of the body does not in any way change the genetic composition of the genes. Color of the eyes is inherited, texture of hair is inherited. So B, size of the body, is an acquired trait, not an inherited trait. Fine to all. Next question. The organs which have same basic structure but different functions, what are they called? Homologous organs. C, homologous organs is the answer. Next is those organs which have different basic structure but have similar appearance and perform similar functions are called analogous organ. A is the answer. Next, the remaps or impressions of dead animals or plants that lived in the remote past are known as, they are fossils, because we are talking about the impressions, right? The animals that lived in remote past and not found nowadays are extinct species, but when we are talking about the remaps or the impressions of those animals, It is fossils, option number B. Next question. The process by which new species develop from the existing species is known as. Now this process simply is called speciation. Very simple answer, I suppose. I think everybody must be knowing it. Coming to the next question. Which of the following is an example of genetic variation? That means we are talking about somewhere, somehow, the inherited traits. One person has a scar, but his friend does not. This is maybe he had a fight. So it is not genetic. One person is older than another. Obviously, it can't be genetic. Rita eats meat, but her sister Geeta is a vegetarian. Eating habits developed out of taste, not a genetic variation. Two children having different eye colors. Now, eye colors are genetically determined. So, D, children having genetic eye colors is an example of genetic variation. Okay. Next, difference between organisms in a species are described as variation. Which of the following would you describe as continuous variation? Continuous variation means it is going to continuously vary. Hair color, it is not going to vary continuously. Eye color remains fixed throughout. Weight, now this can be changed depending upon the eating habits, depending upon how much the person is eating or digesting. Weight keeps on changing. Sex cannot change. Male or female once found will be formed. So it is C option, weight, which is continuous variation. Clear? Let's see the next question. The more characteristics two species have in common, what does it mean? More closely they are related and more recently they had a common ancestor? Yes. More distantly they are related? No, because they have common characteristics. More closely they are related, correct, and more distantly they have common ancestors, nothing distant. Distant, nothing distant. It is more closely they are related and more recently they had a common ancestor. That is why these two species are having more characteristics in common. So we will mark A to be the right answer to this question. Clear? Question number 26. To study the natural phenomena of inheritance, Mendel selected the pea plants. Which were the following properties were suitable for their studies? Now, why he chose pea plant? Let us see. First reason, plants would easily self-pollinate or cross-pollinate in nature. They will self-pollinate, they do not cross-pollinate. So I will mark it as a wrong option. Plants were easily grown in garden soil with a considerably shorter generation time. Yes, short reproductive cycle was one of the main factors. Next, pea plants do not require the true breeding for hybridization experiments. Not at all. Cross it. Many parts of the plant, such as pod, seed, flower, cotyledons, showed distinct phenotypes or the physical appearances. Yes. So these were the two reasons, right? Because of which he chose the garden pea plant or Pisum sativum. So as per the options, option number 2 and 4 are found in B option. So we will mark B as the right choice to this question. Clear? Coming to next question now. What is the difference between genetic drift and change due to natural selection? Genetic drift does not require the presence of variation. This is the first option given to us, which is wrong. Genetic drift never occurs in nature. Natural selection does. No, genetic drift so many times occurs in nature. Next, genetic drift does not involve competition between members of a species. Yes, because it is the changes in the genes. So there is no involvement of any type of competition. There is no difference. Of course there is. So ultimately, this is the difference in natural selection, survival of the fittest. That means there is a competition between the organisms and only that organism is going to survive which is fit enough. So this is the main difference between genetic drift and change due to natural selection. That in natural selection, competition is found. They will compete each other for food, space and mating. But in case of genetic drift, it is simply the changes in the genes, no competition whatsoever. So C is the right choice. Next question. Which concept was not included in Charles Darwin's theory of natural selection? Now, Darwin said that in a particular area there will be an overproduction of offsprings. Then, because of the limited resources, there will be struggle for existence, and in that struggle, it will be the survival of the fittest. This is what Darwin said. In this, there is no reference to punctuated equilibrium. So this concept of punctuated equilibrium was not included in Charles Darwin's theory of natural selection, which he gave in his book called Origin of Species. Right? So B, punctuated equilibrium, is the wrong concept, and this is our right answer. Correct? Question number 29. Natural selection is called survival of the fittest. Which of the following statements best describes an organism? Number one, how strong it is compared to other individuals of the same species. Strength may be considered, but not much. How much food and resources it is able to gather for its offsprings? Not at all. The ability to adapt to the environment in the niche it occupies, this is the main thing. Even though they are not strong, even though they cannot store much food, but if they have got the ability to adapt themselves, that is survival of the fittest, they are going to survive because they can adapt themselves. The number of fertile offspring it has? No, because they may die if the situations are unfavorable. So it is the ability to adapt to the changing environment that mainly ensures their survival. So C is the right answer. Let us see the next question. Human offspring's sex is determined through father's sex chromosome. Exactly. It's not through mother, we have seen already, not through hormones, not by enzymes. It is through father's sex chromosome. A. You should mark the answer. Coming to the next question. Wild cabbage has evolved into new varieties like cabbage, broccoli, and cauliflower, and they have all been done by. Let us see the options. Genetic drift? Obviously not. There has been no drift in genes. Natural selection? This has not been done by nature. Reproductive isolation? They are sexually reproducing, not self-pollinating. Artificial selection? Yes. This is human hand in between. It's the humans who have evolved these varieties of wild cabbage. So D, artificial selection is the actual process responsible for so many varieties of wild cabbage. Okay. Next question is, the fossil remains of Archaeopteryx is a connecting link between. We have already read it is the connecting link between birds and reptiles, or we can say aves and reptiles. Reptiles is okay, but not the mammals. Fish and amphibian both wrong. Amphibian is wrong, reptile is correct. So it is reptiles and birds. How? That too we know that the Archaeopteryx has got wings like the birds, but it has got beak or rather teeth and tail like the reptiles. So it is a connecting link between the birds and reptiles, and instead of birds we have been given aves also. That question also we have seen in today's class only. Quite above we have seen that there is a connective link between aves and reptiles. Clear? Talking about the next. The maleness of a child is determined by. Same repeated question, quite many times it has been asked. The way of asking is different. Let us see the option. The X chromosomes in the zygote? No. The Y chromosome in zygote? Yes. Cytoplasm? No. It is determined by chance? No. B is the right answer, that it is the Y chromosome in the zygote which determines the maleness of a child, and this Y chromosome comes from the father. Clear? Next question. Some dinosaurs had feathers although they could not fly, but birds have feathers that help them fly. In the context of evolution, this means that, good question, if dinosaurs, which if you remember, we have done a question in which we have told that dinosaurs were reptiles. They had feathers, but they could not fly. Birds also had feathers, but birds could fly. That means that reptiles have evolved from birds. No, because if reptiles would have evolved, even they would have been flying. There is no evolutionary connection between reptiles and birds. Of course there is. We have seen Archaeopteryx. There is a connection between them. Feathers are homologous structures in both the organisms. They are not. Because birds are altogether have different feathers, light feathers. Dinosaurs are different. Birds had evolved from reptiles. This is what actually it means, and this is what fossil Archaeopteryx, it made the conclusion. We were able to analyze the same fact that birds have evolved from reptiles. So D will be the correct answer. Okay, so this was the last question, and this is all about heredity and evolution. Few things. Number one, the first thing is that I hope you are able to relate and understand all the things. Number two, while teaching, I have not taken the monohybrid and the dihybrid process because I assume that you have already done them, but because there are so many questions related to them, so now you must have understood that they are quite important. Please make sure that you practice them. Fine. Second thing, there were a few questions that you must have noted down. Please make sure again that you learn them and you revise them again and again so that you are not going to forget them. Clear? Third thing is, please make sure that all the topics are again learnt thoroughly by you. Make sure that all these questions, initially you knew the answers, very good, but there were some, and obviously there must be some, right, whom you never knew the answers. But after doing, now you should be able to answer them. Clear? So, let's go back home. Let's study. Let's complete heredity evolution properly again. And whatever lackings we had in today's test, we were able to make out that there were certain things in which you lacked. So compensate for them, and in the next class we'll be starting up with the next chapter. Fine. So all my dear students, have a great time, have a great day, enjoy yourself guys.